Eminem song? Yeah, it's an Eminem
That
song.
is.
It is an
Hmm.
Eminem song. Good morning, Senor.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm good. I overslept by an hour,
Oh, so
so
much fun.
nice and behind to
It's
start my
so much
day.
fun. I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Snoozed both my alarms at 5 a.m. Courtney's alarm went off at 6, and I got up and I was like, cool. Well,
Wow.
better late than never.
I mean, yeah, especially when it comes to waking up.
Yeah, I mean, fair. You coached this morning? Yeah.
Yeah, 5, 6, and 7.
How's the
I,
classes?
I did I did have personal training at 7. I had 2 people at 5 a.m.
Oh, thin. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's Thursday.
it is Thursday, but on Thursday we do skill work. So muscle up
Mm.
progressions, and today is the last day of muscle up progressions. So, woo. That's fun.
Well, let this be a small public service announcement to people that if you're going to a gym or you're going to CrossFit Greater Heights and you want to get better at muscle ups, don't skip Thursdays.
True story.
Because how often do we hear that as coaches? I want to be
So,
better at this skill. Well, how come you don't come when we do skill work? Well,
yeah, the problem is even when like, okay, you can look at the programming and doing it on your own. No, I don't want to do it alone. I was like, well, I don't know what to tell you, man.
oh, gotta love that. Gotta love that.
Yeah, yeah. And
Um,
then 6 a.m. was delightful as usual.
is that when?
That's actually like a really fun class. I think we
Uh,
started on a very inappropriate topic and we just kept talking and started the warm up late just because we were talking on an inappropriate topic.
all right. Well,
I'm not
you
gonna
heard it
disclose any
here.
more information than that.
6 a.m. inappropriate CrossFit talk. There you go.
Exactly. And like the whole gym was involved in it. It was great.
Oh my god. Very productive morning, I
Yeah.
can tell. Still skipping out on their
Yeah.
muscle up progressions, just doing it a different way.
Yeah. Just talking about it or not talking about it.
Uh housekeeping stuff. What do we got? We've got the apparel is live right now.
I'm gonna be probably regret asking that. Was that one of them? Yeah, you
It
were?
is.
Okay, cool. I was like, I'm not sure, so I'm just gonna shoot in the dark there.
No, it is. You
All
know
right,
I'm you
that
know
looks
I'm
really
on
cool.
brand when we record,
Yeah,
bro.
I wish
Yeah.
I could say the same today, but no.
My t-shirt's not though, so
Yeah.
yeah, the Send Athlete Fall Apparel Run is live. It will be live until I think Monday at midnight. We will be getting this podcast out before that
Woo!
deadline. So, yes, ideally this will come out on the 3rd of November. If me and Mahmoud can make that happen. So he's like, wait, what day is it? Um,
All I know is it's in the middle of the week somewhere.
as we record this, it is Thursday, the 2nd of November. Dude, I can't believe it's already November. Anyways,
Yeah.
speak.
I can't wait till January at this point. Like, let's move on.
No, can't say the same
Yeah.
because my January is a dumpster fire.
The whole January.
My January is a dumpster fire. I will be not in my home for 3 weekends of that month.
Woo!
So, yeah, I'm very excited to go to all the competitions, but, yeah, and then I
The
always
open.
feel like after TFX to the Open, like, I know it's a couple weeks,
Yeah.
but it seems like 2 days.
Especially before it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like
Mm.
I feel like we get back from TFX and then, like, I
You
wake
might,
up.
you might as well rest the remaining of the time.
Yeah, I just wake up and then I'm like, "Oh, what's the first Open workout? Let's do it." Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. The fall has kind of flown by, even though it just now feels like fall here in Houston. So
Not for long. Saturday, it's back in the 80s, baby.
yeah, but it'll be in the 50s, won't it?
In the night? I don't know. I just heard 80s and I was happy, so don't ruin it for me.
Shut up. Shut up.
Dude, I'm wearing 4 layers and two pants.
Oh my gosh.
Can't break me.
Mahmoud is not built for the cold weather, y'all.
I do not like the cold.
Uh I enjoy the temperature swing. Like I enjoy like 75 in the day and then like 60, 50 at night.
You know what it was this morning?
40.
43 from 5 a.m. till 9 a.m.
It's not cold.
43.
It's not cold.
Okay, you're fired.
First of all, you can't fire me.
You're canceled.
Secondly, what's the coldest it ever gets in like Egypt, like
I
that
mean,
you
it,
experienced?
it, uh, it got to, what's the freezing temperature again here?
30,
37, 32?
32.
Yeah, it got there a couple of
Okay,
times.
so it's
But
colder.
usually anything below, well, y'all are on a different system. Anything below 10 Celsius is low, very low. Like today would be a cold day in Egypt.
That's fair. I get
Yeah.
that. All right, so we are moving into the winter months. We just
Yes.
wrapped up our first preseason cycle, Andes. We are moving into the second preseason cycle, which will take us through the winter months to the beginning of the new year. So this will be November, December, and then probably the first week of January, give or take, depending on how the dates actually line out. And this is the cycle called Alps. So on the mountain theme, just so everybody is aware, Andes is the longest mountain range, I think on the planet, if I remember correctly. And that was to encapsulate that theme of building up your base. And then the Alps mountain range is higher than the Andes, but is not, I believe it's higher than the Andes. Some geologist is going to watch this or something and be like, it's not higher than me. Anyways, we're talking about CrossFit, okay? It's just for names. But so this cycle is to
You're doing great.
build
Keep going.
build upon. Well, I said it and then I immediately knew. I was like, if I even slightly wrong, somebody's gonna lose it. Um, it's okay. I already got canceled the last episode, so um, this cycle is gonna build upon what we went and built in the last cycle, and it's to prepare athletes for the demands of the in-season cycles that are going to be coming up. Are you Googling this right now to figure
Mhm.
out which one's which? I had all this known at one point in time, but I have forgotten, to be honest. Because when we came up with the names, it was all appropriately thematic in terms of building up through the year to the different cycles, and the names kind of corresponded with the time of the year and what each cycle is. Um,
Let's call it the effort is what counts.
the effort is what counts cycle. That's fine. We can call it that.
Yeah.
So after or before you get done looking up the mountain ranges, why don't you give people a little bit of a recap of what the point of this last cycle was, what some of the focuses were,
Yeah.
and then we'll kind of segue into where we're going and why we're going the direction we're going.
Sounds like a plan. Also, if you guys hear a little bit of snoring, it's my dog who's almost breaking his neck sleeping on the wall. So I
It's
apologize.
adorable.
Yeah, I wish I could show you. But that being said, last cycle we were working on one, starting our kind of like squat base front squats. There was a lot of focus on front squats. We squatted 3 days a week.
Correct.
Uh, we had a lot of positional strength, so I had a lot of complexes, a lot of pauses, deadlift with a pause. Um, what else did we have? A lot of, as I said, different position snatches,
Mhm.
high hang snatches, going into the low hang, going into the floating, going into the power snatch or the squat snatch, and so on. A lot of pulls, clean pulls, snatch pulls. So again, it was more of a, I'm sure I'm gonna butcher how you guys pronounce this, but preparatory way.
Preparatory.
Preparatory. There we go.
Preparatory.
Got
You're
it.
good.
Okay.
Preparatory. I love it.
I, I don't know which one.
I
I
love
always
it.
forget. I always forget which one is British and which one isn't. That being said, I think yeah, we basically built to more of a mid-range, except for the Olympic weight lifts. We kind of built a little high, but like squat wise, deadlifts, we're like it's considered high. It's just not like peak yet.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I mean, we
Yeah,
we had athletes in the testing week, go for a 3RM front squat, a heavy cluster double
right.
snatch, things like that. But the dirty secret we know as coaches is I didn't like we're not expecting people to hit their 1 RM for 2
Yeah. Yeah.
or anything like that in the snatch. Like that, we
I'm like,
have athletes who PR'd their front squat triple, and that's great. But we also have athletes who, you know, they hit their 95% for 3, and they were a little bit like, oh well, why didn't I PR my, why didn't I hit some massive PR on my 3RM front squat? We've been doing all this front squat work, but most of the front squat work has been volume based
right. Also,
preparatory
did
work.
you compare it to the last time you did a 3 rep max front squat?
Right. That's the other thing, right? And what were you doing the last time you did a 3RM? Like, were you
Right.
doing some crazy squat cycle and you just tested a 3RM instead of a 1RM?
Yeah.
Right. So, yes, something that is thematically very true in the way we program things throughout the year for our athletes. We're building you up in a periodized, planned way for you to be at your best in quarterfinals, the open, things like that. So we didn't expect people to be setting lifetime PRs after this first preseason cycle.
I think we did a good job of like kind of laying it down when we wrote it. Like, it wasn't like, oh, test week, we're gonna just annihilate everything. We
Right.
made sure that like it wasn't. This is not the Olympic lifting week that we're looking for.
Right. So moving into this cycle, Alps, right?
Yeah.
Just keeping with the theme of the strength work, it's going to look similar, but also at times much different, right? We're putting more of a focus on heavy back squatting. We're going to be back squatting more frequently than we're front squatting.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be doing a lot more work in those traditional 70 to 80% rep ranges and building up to some very heavy squats. Athletes will get the opportunity to test a 1RM back squat at the end of this cycle, which that in and of itself kind of shows the periodized nature of these 2 cycles, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've been moving you toward what we know is coming since the beginning of the last cycle to set people up for success, right?
So think about it more of like a very long squat cycle.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's something that, I mean, I know there are coaches who know how to do this, but most coaches don't take what would be traditionally called a phasic block periodized approach to their strength work for the season. They just like, okay, we're going to hammer the back squat for 5 weeks, and then we're going to hammer the clean for 5 weeks, and then we're going to hammer the front squat for 5 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever. And they don't actually write consecutive cycles that build upon each other.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody knows shit about fuck with getting really strong, it's better to do phasic block periodization across a year to set yourself up for success and also injury prevention. So that's why we do this that way, right?
True.
Olympic lifts going to be getting a little bit heavier. This is like a return to a little bit more of what we would call the traditional lifts. You're going to be doing snatches from the floor a little more frequently. You're going to be doing power snatches from the floor a little more frequently. Still complexes, still those days sprinkled in, but we're moving into that next phase of, okay, ideally, you got really good at your position work. We built some strength in those positions. Now we're going to start translating that and working on the full lifts from the floor for multiple repetitions and those things. Right.
True. Mm-hmm.
Barbell cycling Mondays are coming back.
Fun.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know how many athletes we have that will actually remember that, but they'll remember it when they do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember it. And when I was working on writing the lifting with Coach Ricky, I was like,
That
yeah,
again.
that. So a lot more of the lifting this cycle will be on a minute or on the 90 and things like that. And that's by design, right? We're working on increasing not only people's strength, but also getting a little bit of that barbell conditioning stimulus without having to put that in its own full Metcon piece, right?
Yeah.
Everybody knows, I think everybody knows, being really strong on a 1RM is very useful, but you also need to be very efficient and proficient and conditioned at moving non-maximal weights well and quickly, right?
True.
Yep.
Amen to that.
Let's talk about the monostructural side of the house, which you and I have had some discussions a little bit about this, just back and forth because we've been talking about running. So we'll start with the running conditioning, which you will be a big fan of, just because you are a good runner and, like me, adamantly believe in what running can do for people.
100%.
So for our quarterfinals prepping athletes, we are going to be doing basically a 5K running cycle, but it's CrossFitified. So it's not, if you went and looked at a traditional 5K prep running cycle, you'd be like, well, this isn't the same thing as what I'm doing. Well, it's not, because you're a CrossFitter and we ask you to do a bunch of other shit too. But the focus of this is to improve your longer distance speed. So interval work, things like that. And we're also going to be using a little bit of longer steady state runs to just get you used to moving your body weight through space for a longer period of time and building a little bit of that aerobic conditioning with the running modality. So there will be 2 running sessions a week, starting in, I think, week 3. And if you are a quarterfinal athlete who is looking to go to semifinals and is already strong enough, you need to do both the running pieces. If fitness is your issue, you need to do both of the running pieces every week.
And that's more directed towards people who follow our blog.
Yes. Everybody, for our individual athletes, like, they're going to get, you're going to be told what you're doing. But for those people out there who are following the blog, if you are strong enough to move the weights that are going to be asked of you to move, which in quarterfinals are heavy, 275 clean and jerks, 185-pound clean and jerks, right? Like, that's not a light weight. Yeah. Heavy snatches, the front squats, 225 for 9 off the rip. Like, we've seen moderate to heavy, I would say, loading. And I don't think there's any reason we shouldn't expect to see that again. Obviously, a 1RM could come out, a ladder,
A 4RM.
A 4RM, yeah. I still stand by. I'm waiting for the day they program 16.2 in quarterfinals. The squat clean double under total body.
They already programmed it twice in the open.
I know, but I think now the way they do the open, that's a quarterfinals test.
You can just multiply the weights by 2.
Did you say multiply the weights by 2? Bro, you're having people doing 630 clean and jerks? Calm down back there.
Oh, man.
So that is my kind of spiel for the running. If you, like I said, if you're an athlete that is strong and you lack just that cardiovascular conditioning, you need to run. You need to run twice a week. You need to do this running cycle, because it will also be setting you up to really get your aerobic fitness in a place that it needs to be when it is quarterfinals after the next cycle, our first in-season cycle. So
agree.
Let's see.
Running is fun, y'all.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
I'm not. I'm a decent runner, and
you like running.
I don't like running, but I love the fitness that running gives me.
Yeah, like a running and GHD piece. Oof.
Ooh.
You heard it here first.
Ooh. Do you remember, did I do that workout with you? I think I did 50, 40, 30, 20, 10 with a 400 between each one. Oh, that's a good piece.
Yeah.
It's just in like my Rolodex in my brain. Like, just
add some overhead squats there and just like, ooh.
You ruined it for me. You ruined it for me.
All right, light snatches. There you go.
All right, I could get behind that.
Yeah.
So running will be frequent. It will be longer intervals, 800s, 1Ks, very distance intervals, 800, 600, 400, 200, those kind of things. Run hard in those intervals, and then on the tempo runs, run steady and you will reap the benefits in the next 8 weeks. I
Hmm.
pinky promise. Let's see, rowing. We are going to be doing a lot of volume work on the rower at moderate paces.
Hmm.
And this is again to set athletes up to have the base they need to row at very high intensities in the open and quarterfinals and prepare them for that conditioning cycle that will come in the in-season cycle.
So you're saying that if you're really bad at machines, this is your chance for redemption?
Dude, I'm actually glad you said that. If you're really bad at machines and you do every single piece that we write this cycle, I promise you're going to be better at machines.
Sounds
Like,
like a money back guarantee.
I mean, I would actually give a money back guarantee on that. Like, you will be notably better on the machines on January 1st.
All right, TFX, here we come.
Yeah, 100%. So speaking of, the rower, I'm not going to go into too much detail. Like I said, it's going to be a little bit more volume based. We're going to be doing more like moderate paces, things like that. You're going to be on there for a long time versus what we had this cycle, which was just kind of, a little bit of everything: 500s, 1Ks, 6 minutes,
Is
4 minutes,
there
8 minutes.
is there a testing distance that we're shooting for, like the running, or just general scheme?
General scheme for the rowing, we're testing a 5K for the running, and then for the Echo Bike conditioning, this is a VO2 max centered cycle. This is probably one of the few things a lot of people would disagree with the way we do things in the space on, but I don't care. The Echo Bike is a tool, right? It's something that's tested in the sport, but for the majority of athletes, it's not a testable thing all of the time until you get to semifinals or the games. So the Echo Bike is another way to stimulate, leg endurance and power and aerobic fitness in a different modality than a rower or running or, a bike erg or a ski erg. So this cycle, the type of work you will be doing on the Echo Bike is very much VO2 max style work.
Can you expand on that? What does VO2 max style mean?
So you're going to be doing basically time domain ish intervals that are 3 to 8 minutes, or you're going to be doing sustained high intensity work. So working hard for a short amount of time with a very short rest for a long time.
So aerobic, a lot of aerobic work on the bike.
Yeah. So the scientific term, like I said, is VO2 max. I personally, when I think about this cycle or this type of work, I refer to it as aerobic power. So it's just in my head the way I think about it. Like when I think about your VO2 max, it is kind of what is your maximal aerobic power? Like where do you blow up aerobically? And so that is what we're focusing on, and we're just training that on the apparatus of the Echo Bike. And we're doing that again so that when we go into the next cycle, what the style of training we ask you to do on the Echo Bike or the bike erg is kind of potentiated by the adaptation you've got this cycle. If you guys can't pick up these themes, like we layer all of these things in specific orders down to what kind of training you're doing on what machine to try to set you guys up for success in the in-season cycle in the open quarterfinals or semifinals. We
Would
plan
you
the
would you say like that next cycle training that would be potentiated by the bike is more on the mixed modal part, or like, okay, bike is going to be high intensity in the workout. Can you sustain that without passing out?
The next cycle is two things on the bike. It's high intensity in the mixed modal setting, and it's incorporated in lactate threshold work. And
Okay.
I know everybody who was with us last year is going to remember that. But because that's one of, like, if you look at like what's the tool that I can use the bike for, I can make you I can do three things with a bike. I can make you really out of breath. I can make you completely destroy your anaerobic system in no time flat. and I can make you want to cut your legs off,
True.
right? So again,
And you
how am
can
I?
send her into like depression.
Yeah, yeah. So how are we using those tools to get the most bang for our buck? That's going to help you in the sport. And one of those ways is getting our VO2 max, getting that aerobic power squared away, translating it to mixed modal settings so that you know how to bike and what you can hold when you're asked to hold it. If you do, if you make it to semifinals or you do have an off-season competition in that time frame, and then the other way is to get you as fit as possible, and then I'm going to force your body to learn how to deal with lactate for 8
Fair enough.
weeks straight.
That's fair.
But if you can't breathe long enough, it doesn't
Then
matter.
that's pointless. Yeah.
Right. And that's why we do that first. So, uh, conditioning work, or rather the Metcons. This is, I think I've said this before. This is probably my favorite time of the year.
Mm-hmm.
When we did this podcast last year, Ricky used that lovely chart that was going around social media at the time, the fuck around and find out chart. We've talked about that before, because the preseason and any Metcons people were doing in the off season is really the time to do that. But this is the time where I want you to keep fucking around and finding out. But I need you to remember what you did.
Write it down.
Like
Write it down, people.
I need you to write it down. I need you to log it in Fitter, so that when there's another piece 2 weeks later that's similar, or has the machine's the same, or the movement's the same, and then one of the movements is different or something, you can look back and be like, okay, this didn't pan out, or this worked really well, or I could have went harder. And then you can try that and try that and try that again. It gets you fitter. You can use it to push your weaknesses up, right? And it allows you to have a lot of data. So then when we do get to the open and quarterfinals, you know how to approach certain workouts. So lots of couplets with gymnastics and one other kind of movement. So might be a monostructural, might be a barbell, might be a dumbbell, something of that nature, might be a sled, might be a sandbag. But the focus for you guys to pull out of those things is, what happened to me on this set of gymnastics? What sets did I hold? Was this a good idea? Was this a bad idea? Did I blow the fuck up? Right? Like, what happened? And how can I improve upon that? And the other side of it is giving you guys an opportunity to not always game plan things to the max and to push it, because it's okay.
Well, it's also like it's the cycle before the open. If you want to have a baseline, a true baseline, it's the time to do that.
100%.
And I meant, sorry, the cycle before the open cycle.
Right. The open cycle, I mean, people are going to get those opportunities, but there's so much more going on in the kind of Metcons you do to get ready for the open or
And
quarterfinals.
I would argue that if you don't already know those stuff, like how many sets can you, or how many reps can you hold per set and sustain that, or how much wattage on the bike can you hold, or whatever, stuff like that, you're kind of wasting opportunities during the open cycle to execute at a higher level.
Correct.
So this is the cycle to where, okay, I need to learn more about my body now and what it's capable of, so that when I go into a full-on, almost test-like metcons, or I'm putting what I've learned to the application, I already have that information. I'm not finding out, I'm more training it.
100%. 100%. I mean, ideally, people should have already started to figure this stuff out with the single
This
modality
last cycle.
pieces that we've
Yeah.
done this last cycle.
But I'm talking more about like, we're gonna see more barbell cycling. We're gonna see more gymnastics. We're gonna, not just machines at this point.
Right. 100%.
And like, and I'm gonna say, I go on a limb and say that most people who are taking the open seriously are potentially doing one competition in January, which is
Yes.
during the open cycle, which means that they even have less time to do that application part, and they have a more prominent test at that time. So, which makes this current cycle more urgent than it usually is.
100%.
And I'm not saying just TFX. I'm sorry, Wadapalooza, Fittest on the Coast, or of the Coast, and that's 3 different states that
Yeah.
you're doing competitions in.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of even, we have another local competition here in Houston, the KTX Games. It's in December, right? Like,
Right.
it's right in the middle of this cycle. So,
True.
yeah, those
So
competitions are gonna be prevalent, and people, like, you've got to pay attention to how you approach a piece so that you can then know how to push yourself in a movement.
right.
Because you have to continuously ask more of yourself.
And that's basically it turns us around back to the word intention.
Mhm.
Are you working out or are you training?
Yes, 100%. Um,
What else?
there will be some bodybuilding style stuff. You guys know how we roll here at Ascend. You're always doing some bodybuilding style accessory sprinkled in. There will be a little bit less of it than the last 2 cycles, but we're obviously adding in more of the traditional CrossFit style work or interval training or, whatever.
Mhm.
Um, this is a question I got from a couple athletes, and I'm sure this is on more than one athlete's mind, so I want to address this a little bit. We haven't been doing that much. Like, there has been a decent amount of training. Some days are a little bigger than others. But the overall volume that we have been asking people to do is not what most competitive programs ask of people, right?
And
We
that's on purpose.
Yes, we will be doing more through this cycle. Things will start to progress a little bit. You'll be doing a little bit more volume, be doing a little bit more volume of particular movements.
Mhm.
It's all going to build up a little bit. And then when we get to the quarterfinals prep cycle, I want you all to remember your words about not having a lot to do
Hmm.
in October and September and maybe the beginning of November, because we will be doing the volume that is needed. But this is something like that we had the coaches have talked about a ton, and I think we've seen really in the sport the last 2 years is volume's great and we need it. Like, we need a certain amount of volume to um make it through a quarterfinals weekend, make it through the open with some redos, all of those things. Semifinals obviously has a certain amount of volume to it, but um I'm not interested in how much volume you can do if your intensity sucks. I'm
Yep.
just not. I can do a bunch of volume. I'm not that fit, but my intensity is not going to be very great, right?
Yeah.
So the reason we layer the volume across the year is so that we can preserve the intensity as the volume goes up, so that when we are at our highest training volume, you're still hitting every single piece with pretty good intensity. Like,
Mhm.
you're crushing the intensity marker, because that is what matters in the sport, especially what we've seen in the last 2 years.
Agreed.
So be patient. I promise all my gym rats out there will be in the gym all day, every day when it matters.
Hmm.
We talked about the lifting, we talked about the conditioning, we talked about the gymnastics a little bit, the metcons. Anything we missed? Anything that we think is important to touch on this cycle?
Skill.
Skills. So we're still going to be continuing to work on those skill progressions and practice of the higher skill movements, crossover double unders, handstand walking, obstacles, all that stuff. There will start to be some of those things where we're going to start asking people to do those things under just a pinch of fatigue,
Mhm.
just a little bit. I don't need you going crazy. I just need you to start to understand how it feels to do this when you're a little bit out of breath, right?
Mhm.
I'm not going to ask people to run uh like 400 meters sprints and then do 10 pullovers yet,
Right.
but I might ask you to,
Try to run and do 2 pullovers.
one and then rest,
Yeah.
right? Something like that. So we're going to have a little bit of those pieces throughout the cycle to start working on those things under a little bit of fatigue. Some of the other skills, though, those are kind of those skills that I would say are at the edge. Some of those other skills like crossover single unders, like get ready for,
full on workout.
500 crossover single unders in a workout.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it's time.
Well, yeah, we got to get with it, or we got to figure out why we're not with it at this point. Like,
right.
we're past 10 minutes of skill practice, EMOM, this. And everybody's fit enough to swing the rope around them and keep jumping. Like, you just need to get the skill. So we need to start practicing the skill. So some of those things will be a little bit more incorporated into higher intensity stuff.
Love it.
Love it. Let's see. What do we have going? Have we recorded a podcast since TFX quals? Yes, we did.
Last week.
Oh yeah, we did record a podcast last week. Fuck. Hey, like you said, it's some day in the middle of the week. So Coach Hattie will be competing out at LFIT, 2 weeks? So going to be wishing her lots of luck from over here across the pond.
Homeland.
Yep, Mahmoud's homeland. And then we're going to have a good handful of athletes doing the KTX games out here in Houston early December. So
we have Choctaw competing this weekend.
Oh, he's competing this weekend?
Mm-hmm.
Sick.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Somewhere in New Braunfels.
New Braunfels? Cool. Heck yeah.
Can't believe I said it right. Most the city's name has eluded me so many times.
Say Einhorn.
Einhorn is fine. It's the city. I keep saying New Browns something.
New Brownsfells. So,
anyways, but yeah. What else? I don't think there's other. We had people compete at Team Katy Classic last weekend.
We did
2 weeks ago.
Yep.
And might have some people in Wadapalooza.
Yes. So Kelly will be doing Wadapalooza as an individual, and then Madison McElhaney will be on an elite team.
That's
so
awesome.
We'll have a little bit of people out at Wadapalooza. We have
the following weekend, Fittest on the Coast.
We have some people out at Fittest of the Coast, Justin Riddlebach, AJ Nicely, and then Melissa Hoof. And then I don't know.
Did CC do the qualifiers too?
She did. Yeah. I don't know. She did the qualifiers for TFX and Fittest. So I don't know which one they're doing.
It's going to be a gamble. Yeah. And then we have like 700 people at TFX.
Yeah. Whatever. Everybody from Ascend will be at TFX basically. Who's not at those other competitions. So yeah, it'll be fun. TFX is going to be fun this year. I'm excited. So, all right, brother. I think we covered everything. If you guys have comments, drop them questions, drop them in the comments below, or you can just put comments in there too. That's fine. Questions, our Instagram handles are above if you would like any more information on how we do things, what to expect this cycle. If you're curious about Ascend Athlete and our coaching, I'll put all the links to our programs in the description box below when we upload this bad boy onto the YouTubes. And we will talk to y'all later.
Can you stand up one more time and show me that nice sweatshirt?
I'm in a very not. Bam.
There you go. All right.
I'm in like a couch chair, bro. This is hard to stand up out of. I need to get an office chair in the worst way, but I'm cheap, so.
And also, if you guys are Ascend athletes and you know somebody who's interested, that would be a great time to start for this next season. Given that this is the beginning of the cycle, great time to start.
I guess we should have said this in the beginning. So I guess this is kind of the last touch on the cycle. This is the last cycle you have to get your shit together for the season. Sorry, I'm coming out of like nice podcaster mode. Like this is the last, like if you're trying to do well in the season,
try hard this cycle.
You don't have any more time to dick off unless you're a games athlete.
Okay.
Am I wrong?
A little too harsh.
No, honesty is the best policy. Like this
Man.
site, if you can, if people can go into a cave from November to the Open.
This is the Christian Bale Batman training montage.
Yes,
cycle.
this is when you play the Dark Knight Rises theme song on repeat in the gym for 4 months, 5 months. Like
Battling the demons.
if you can just go put in work through this cycle and the next cycle, even if you haven't been training the way you should have been, you can still make massive improvements in your fitness.
In more positive ways, he's saying there's still hope.
Yeah, there's always hope. But like time's ticking. So you might want to start
Get it done now.
next Monday. So all right.
You heard it here first.
All right. Appreciate your time, brother. I'll talk to you
Yes,
later.
sir. All right. Bye.